Okay, so here we've got the Bunn Trifecta MB. This is the home version of the commercial trifecta machine that they came out with a couple years ago that you may have seen in cafes. It's a single cup brewer. You can brew 6 to 12 ounces of coffee at a time. And you can really customize your brewing parameters with turbulence, brew time. And yeah, it's a great single cup brewer, a good option for people who just want 1 cup. They're going out the door. They don't want to mess with pour over or nasty K-cups or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Trifecta. I consider it like a giant automated AeroPress, basically. So, so if you've got hot water and muscles and time and you like AeroPress, maybe stick with that. But when I saw this thing, I thought this would be really cool for a small office where you want to come along. It's basically got instant hot water, more or less. We'll show you. And apparently it makes Ethiopia coffee, which is light, fruity, and mild, taste delicious. Now, it comes with a brewing guide that's pretty ridiculous, but you'll be able to play with the parameters here, which is soak times and turbulence. The hot water is always delivered at a particular temperature, which is a good temperature. And I've been using it a lot, and it makes a really nice cup. So why don't we check it out. This is the jug. You get 2 jugs that you can brew in, which actually kind of is cool because that means you can, like if you had some people over, you can make 2 kinds of coffee. Mm-hmm. And it's ready so rapidly, and the brew cycle is so quick that you can literally make 2 coffees for 4 people or something pretty easily.
So this is the air jet. So air comes out through here, and it goes into the port in the brew chamber to introduce turbulence into the coffee and stir it up.
You must use a fancy pour-over kettle in order to get the water directly into the brew chamber. If you don't, the coffee will taste terrible, and it's better if you use a swirling pattern to agitate the water.
Some people might like a figure 8 pattern rather than the clockwise pattern. That's okay, just as long as you're swirling.
Right, keep swirling. And then you measured these out?
Yeah, so here we have 25 grams of freshly ground coffee. This is a Costa Rican.
Yeah, I've been using 22 for 12 ounces for a full pot. That's the capacity, 12 ounces. And basically it's got hot water in here. If you've used it recently, it will immediately start brewing because that water is already at temperature. If you haven't, it will go through this light will flash when you push it, this like disco blue Star Trek Next Generation light. And it'll take, I don't know, like 3 minutes or so, and it's ready to brew. So It's pretty much on demand. So it's just it's a metal filter. We can talk a little about what kind of cup we're getting because of that, in a way. And let's see if this one's ready to brew. I'm not really sure. So we've been using these settings. You've got some variables here for your turbulence and your infusion time. Yeah, that's ready to go.
See the disco light? One very important thing to remember, before you press the brew button, put a cup underneath here, or pitcher.
So you could walk away and just let it brew and come back, but it's kind of fun to watch. So right now it did its pre-infusion. Now it's going through its filling, and it's going to do its first soak along with its turbulence cycles. So there's not the same amount of controls as the professional cafe version of the Trifecta. I found it really strange that it went from 50 seconds to 2 minutes here, but we've been using 50 for a lot of coffees. It just seems like a really ideal soak time for a lot of the coffees, and that's not total brew time. It is short brew time, like an AeroPress. It's not a full 4 minutes, but that's because turbulence kind of compensates for soaking in the sense of working the water into the coffee particles. So if you, it's like if you brewed coffee and you stirred continuously for 4 minutes, you'd have over-extracted coffee. even though 4 minutes is the ideal soak time, like in a French press. So I really feel like it should do something else, like cook rice or like make a smoothie.
Or play music or something.
Play music, yeah. Preferably Star Trek music. This is the magic. So it's definitely kind of a large size. I'm not really sure. Everyone always asks with automatic brewers if it fits under a counter or not. I honestly don't know.
Yeah,
How tall is it?
It's 18 inches high when you have this airlock lever open.
Oh, so yeah, so you would need that clearance.
Yeah.
It's very kind of flat. It doesn't stick out like an espresso machine. It's sort of... Anyway, I'm going to be tricky and taste this coffee because actually I just ate a big salmon burger, as we are wont to do in California, and I really need a cup of coffee after it. This is Costa Rican Via Sarchi Solis. These are traditional Ethiopia coffee ceremony cups, so first we must bow. Oh, this is the woman's cup. So,
oh no.
Yeah, it's very traditional, so sorry. I know that's rude. We're near Berkeley and stuff, but I've really been enjoying, like, we just cupped this coffee upstairs doing traditional cupping. I think this has a lot of the sweetness that, you know, we're seeing in the other brew methods. Really clean cup, definitely some sediment in the bottom. I would put it in between. It's like an AeroPress if you used one of the metal discs, one of those, what do they call those?
The Able disc.
Able, yeah. But it's not like a Swiss Gold filter that has a lot of sediment. It's not like a French press that has a lot of sediment. And as the case with all of those coffees, if you simply pour slowly after brewing, if you let it sit a couple minutes and pour slowly, a lot of those fine suspended particles are down here at the bottom. And then the last swig, you just give it to the person you don't like. So this is a shot of the kind of fines, the suspended particles that you get in, you could expect in the bottom of one of these. And it's definitely less than a French press. They're very fine. It's actually something that would add to mouthfeel in a sense, but it would make coffee a little gritty and also a little bitter. So what we prefer is just pour slowly. They include this cool carafe, which kind of lends itself to just, you know, letting the coffee sit a minute or two and pouring it slowly after you brew it.
So if you can see this, this brewer does a really effective job of pushing out all the moisture in there. So it is a lot like an AeroPress where it forces air down through the bed of coffee and out through the bottom. So yeah, it's very dry. You can kind of break it up just by tapping on it. And that's really handy too for cleanup. You can just knock it out into your garbage can or compost or what have you.
So we were just talking, because we can't think of anything else to say, about, you know, the theories and the practice of, you know, soaking in turbulence. And if you took a Kenya, if you don't like the really, you know, stark acidity in a Kenya, and you made a French press, and you let it soak, you ground it in large particles, so coarse grind, and you let it soak like 8 minutes, and you didn't stir it, that you would get a kind of suppressed acidity in it. I think that's true. But what's happened in practice with the way we've been using this is we found these settings that we like, which is the C turbulence and 50 seconds of soak. And we've just been getting nice cups from it. So I don't know, you know, it's there for you to play with. I think it was clear when we first looked at this that it was designed by a company that kind of knows what they're doing. Because a lot of times, especially I even admit with home roasters, because they're designed by small companies and not fancy engineers that go through the whole thing, they create a range between whatever and whatever, and it's not the range you want or it's not the degrees you want. With this, it seems to have covered pretty well a range in coffee brewing that's practical and that you might use. That said, we've been using the same settings ever since we got it. You know, and I think, you know, in general, like Sweet Maria's and historically, we've been really against stuff like this. Because, like, why not do something really simply and cheaply that, you know, instead of doing it with a giant contraption that costs a lot of money? But I guess when we tried this out, and I like the results so much, I think it does a really good job brewing. It's really a no-brainer. People come and they put some water in and some coffee and they hit a button and they get coffee. So for like office and, I don't know, so there's just certain settings where it seems like an appropriate machine. And so we offer it that way. It's not made from solid titanium. It's not going to it's plastic and stuff, but it's really well designed. And it's kind of surprising Bunn does this. This is not a giant mass-produced item. They're making them in little batches, which is probably part of the cost.
Yeah,
It's not.
and they're all hand-assembled in the U.S., too. I think they're made in Illinois, so
They're local.
that's what the internet says. So if you buy one of these guys, you'll notice when you unpack it that there's some moisture, some condensation. That is entirely normal. Bunn goes through a very thorough bench testing procedure, and part of that involves running water through it. You want to make sure that the heating element works, that all the gaskets are secure and everything. So it's not unusual, and don't panic.
Yeah, and don't believe any of this, although it's fun to read. But
It might be fun to mess around with it.
yeah, coffee is complex, they say.